In New York, this is the WB11 News at 10 with Heidi Tong, Jack Cafferty, Sal Marciano Sports, and Mr. G Weather.
He said he didn't shake his baby to death, but a jury disagreed. Good evening. A guilty verdict for Dr. Malcolm Schoon in the death of his daughter.
The 5-month-old girl became known as Baby Mariah after her death made headlines around the city. Her father, a Queens anesthesiologist, said all along he was not to blame. But today, as he clutched a Bible, he heard a jury find him guilty of manslaughter. Pauline Liu was there for the verdict.
Dr. Malcolm Schoon, a 40-year-old anesthesiologist, showed no emotion as a Queens jury found him guilty of manslaughter in the shaking death of his 5-month-old daughter Mariah. Schoon's wife, Lois, on the other hand, broke down in tears, collapsed onto her sister-in-law's shoulder, and cried out, "Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus." As she was hustled out of the courthouse by her pastor, Mrs. Schoon told reporters her faith in God and her husband remained intact.
My husband's innocent, and we will appeal it.
Baby Mariah was rushed to the hospital unconscious in February of 1996. She died after weeks on life support. Her parents, both born-again Christians, had gone to court to prevent the hospital, Long Island Jewish, from pulling the plug. During this 5-week-long trial, the Schoons relied heavily on their faith, praying and singing hymns in the courtroom before the start of each session. Schoon never took the witness stand. Instead, jurors watched his videotaped statement to police.
And she wasn't taking any more breaths. So I picked her up, immediately. And I just screamed her name, Mariah, Mariah, Mariah.
But for the 12 jurors who declined comment to reporters, this case boiled down to what medical experts had to say. Defense claims that baby Mariah died of an infection rang hollow.
This is the third case in my career, frankly, where I am utterly dumbfounded.
Prosecutors say Schoon was convicted because the medical evidence was overwhelming.
This jury has heard the evidence from, I think it was 14 doctors who agreed that there was no question that this was shaken baby syndrome and that this was not a disease process that killed this baby. Dr. Malcolm Schoon is to be held at Rikers Island until he is sentenced in 3 weeks. He faces a minimum of probation and a maximum of 5 to 15 years behind bars. In Kew Gardens, Queens, I'm Pauline Liu for the WB11 News at 10.
And an autopsy performed on the 3-year-old Sullivan County boy allegedly beaten to death by his mother and 2 of her friends may indicate the child was sexually abused. Police say the autopsy revealed Christopher Gardner had significant bruising around an area that would indicate sexual abuse. The examination also confirmed police suspicions that the boy had been severely abused. The mother, 27-year-old Tracy Irwin, her boyfriend, 33-year-old William Banker, and this friend are all charged with the child's murder. Investigators say Gardner was beaten to death Wednesday after he admitted taking a piece of candy.
A 4-year-old boy is in the hospital tonight after falling out of a 3rd-floor window. This happened late this evening in Brooklyn, and as is so often the case, there were no guards on the windows. Robbie Chavez is live outside Kings County Hospital with the very latest on this story for us. Robbie?
Heidi, the boy did survive, but this is one of those stories that is so very upsetting, not only because young Terrence Jennings is in the hospital suffering from multiple trauma, 2 fractured legs and a broken cheekbone, but also because this could have been prevented. As you mentioned, there were no window guards in place, and tonight police want to know if the mother removed them. The 4-year-old boy fell 3 stories from the bathroom window of his mother's apartment onto a cement pavement in an alley next to the building. Residents there say window guards are available to tenants, but this apartment did not have the one protection that would have prevented the fall. Witnesses standing on the corner of Linden and Bedford say it took a while before the mother realized the child fell.
He lost teeth and he was bleeding from the mouth and that's it. And he was hurting his joint.
What did the family do?
The family would come downstairs.
Tonight, police examined the apartment to try and figure out how the child ended up on the ground. Still, neighbors believe the incident was an accident. Some say the woman rarely left the child out of her sight.
He's never outside with anyone. He's always with her. I've always seen just, the 2 of them. They're always together anytime I see the 2 of them.
Tonight, a pool of blood below the apartment stands as a vivid reminder of why window guards are so necessary.
It should not have happened. It could have been avoided. If the parent had applied for window guard, you can get it free from the city and from your landlord. You don't have to pay a dime for it. And this is the parent responsibility.
Despite the law requiring window guards tonight, police say this was an accident and no charges will be filed. We're live tonight at Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn. I'm Robbie Chavez for the WB11 News at 10. Jack, back to you.
All right, thanks, Robbie. In Brooklyn, police tonight have arrested a man for attempting to abduct a student who was walking home from school. They say an 8-year-old girl was walking with another girl when 55-year-old Carl Fernandez grabbed her. She broke free, ran back to the school, and told a teacher, who then notified police. Police found Fernandez a few blocks away. He's been charged with attempted kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and endangering the welfare of a child.
After 3 days of deliberations, the jury in the Long Island beating trial of former cop Austin Offen has still not reached a verdict. Even this early in deliberations, the jury has already expressed difficulty in reaching a decision. They've even sent the judge a note saying they are deadlocked. Long Island correspondent Frank Gucciardo reports.
Obviously, a deadlock verdict is not what or deadlock jury is not what we want. We want an acquittal. We're still hopeful that's going to happen.
Defense attorney Bruce Barquette was frustrated this morning when the jury said they were deadlocked after only deliberating 90 minutes today in the attempted murder trial of Austin Offen. The Floral Park bodybuilder stands accused of the savage beating of Shane Daniels outside a West Hampton nightclub in May of 1996. Prosecutor Stephen O'Brien said he wasn't surprised by the impasse.
There's a lot of evidence. I don't think they've been through all the evidence yet. They haven't had enough time to digest everything they've heard. It's a 4.5-week trial, and to put them in a room and expect them to do something in a day and a half is just not reasonable.
And for Austin Offen's mother, Janet, the frustrating wait will be worth it if the verdict goes her way.
As long as it takes, I'm happy with it.
Late this afternoon, a readback of testimony of a witness who claimed they saw a shirtless man beating a black kid was interrupted by defense counsel Bruce Barquette twice. Barquette objected because the court reporter apparently began to read from testimony that had been stricken from the record.
And in this instance, apparently what happened is she didn't have a chance to review those portions of her notes that she was actually asked to read.
But in court, Barquette complained to the judge, saying it's like ringing a bell. How do I unring it? During the trial, only 1 of 11 people who saw the beating could positively identify Austin Offen as the attacker. 2 other witnesses who claimed he was the assailant said Offen only resembled the attacker. The jury goes into its 4th day of deliberations tomorrow, and for Shane Daniels and his family, it has been 23 months they've been waiting for justice.
I don't care how long it takes, as long as the right thing is done.
At Riverhead Criminal Court, Frank Gucciardo, the WB11 News at 10.
In the wake of Mayor Giuliani's apology on behalf of the city for the Crown Heights riots of a few years ago, the war of words between Giuliani and former Mayor David Dinkins has escalated. In his weekly radio show, the mayor blasted Dinkins, saying the former mayor was, quote, half asleep, unquote, during most of his time in office. Dinkins countered that Giuliani's catering to the Jewish community in Crown Heights for political reasons, and that's why he agreed to the $1.1 million settlement. The mayor says he's simply correcting mistakes made during Dinkins' administration.
2 to 14 range from 20. The fact is, the only reason the city had to give that money away is because David Dinkins didn't do his job as mayor of New York City in a reasonably competent manner.
The city agreed to pay the money to a group of Jewish plaintiffs who claimed the city failed to protect them during the Crown Heights riots.
A 35-year-old man is in police custody tonight after he tried to rob St. Patrick's Cathedral today twice. Nestor Perez is charged with possession of stolen property, criminal mischief, and petty larceny. Police say Perez took an undisclosed amount of cash when he robbed a collection box around 7 this morning. So, feeling lucky, investigators say he then came back around 2:30 this afternoon and tried to rip off another box. Well, police nabbed him the second time around.
Wall Street made history today, going over 9,000 a number of times before closing just short of that milestone. Most of the experts say the market will probably go still higher, but as Barry Cunningham tells us, for the average investor, this could be as good as it gets.
The bulls were cheering as the Dow Jones Industrials hit the magic 9,000 number and soared even higher during the early minutes of trading. But in the afternoon, skittish investors backed away from the psychological milestone. At the closing bell, the Dow finished down 3 points at 89.83.
What's the fascination with 9,000? It's stupid. It has no significance at all. It's just it's a round number. It's a psychological thing.
If it didn't happen today, analysts expect the Dow to hit 9,000 next week.
People have been putting money away, let's say in their 401ks, and which is an easy thing to do because you never see the money, it just goes in, and that really builds up. So they've been putting money in there all along, plus their money's been earning a lot of money. The scary part is we've seen an incredible 3 years, and it's hard to imagine that you could get a fourth.
What exactly is pushing the market higher and higher?
The dollar's been pretty strong right since the beginning of the year. So as a result, you not only had a rally in the U.S. market that's carried the Dow to 9,000, but it's also been a global rally.
With the market's fixation on round numbers, the bulls are not only rooting for down 9,000, but an industrial average of 10,000 by the end of the year, while nervous traders say that's all the more reason for this market to pause and catch its breath. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Barry Cunningham for the WB11 News at 10.
Still to come, the king of pop is a pop again, Michael Jackson's new addition.
Some New Jersey college students paid for a spring break trip to the Bahamas but got a big surprise when they tried to leave.
Was it racism or resisting arrest? A judge decides in a case that pitted cop against cops.
Fans of the blockbuster movie Titanic are getting a treat, a chance to see artifacts from the real thing.
And will Titanic be knocked off its box office perch? A sci-fi adventure and a new Bruce Willis movie will give it a try. Right now we go to Mr. G at the weather map.
All right, the story for us tonight is really a shot of showers moving across the Ohio Valley west to east, very close to the tri-state area. And with the storm track even closer west to east, with the track of the storm right off the middle Atlantic states, the question is, does it rain over the weekend? We'll talk about it in the next 5 days after this.
There's trouble in paradise for some area students enjoying spring break.
They spent a week in the Bahamas. The kids then, when they went to go home, were hit with a hotel bill of almost $2,000. It was a bill they thought was part of a package that they'd already paid for. Now their travel agent is behind bars. New Jersey correspondent Pamela Chan has the story.
Imagine it's your senior year in college. You've worked hard and saved your money. Spring break rolls around and you're enjoying an all-inclusive trip in the sunny Bahamas with your friends. But when you try to leave, the hotel says you still owe $1,800. This vacation nightmare came true last month for at least one group of students from Rutgers University.
I was really just hysterical because I didn't know what to do, you know? Trying to come up with that amount of money in such a short notice is just almost impossible.
Kathy and her 7 friends had no choice but to call home for money or pay the balance on their credit cards. Hotel management was threatening to have them detained on the island. But once they got back to New Jersey, you can bet these students weren't going to forget they'd just been scammed.
And we went directly to the New Brunswick Police Department. We filed a criminal complaint, and they took it from there. And Tuesday, he was arrested.
He is the travel agent who booked the trip. His name is Demetrius Georges, and he owns Tropical Tours, located in this building just blocks from the Rutgers campus. Georges is in jail tonight. He's been charged with theft.
Once you tell people it's a certain amount of price for a vacation, you can't find out later on that you owe the hotel more money.
Police say since the original group has come forward, they've received phone calls from at least 10 more students. They're also expected to file formal complaints against the travel agent, Demetrius Georges. In New Brunswick, New Jersey, I'm Pamela Chan for the WB11 News at 10.
A split decision of sorts in the trial of an off-duty Florida police officer who says he was pulled over because he's black.
Stop resisting us, sir! Stop resisting us! Now! Hey!
Aaron Campbell was convicted of resisting arrest by white Orlando deputies during a videotaped traffic stop. He was acquitted of the more serious charge of battery. The Miami-Dade police major charged he was a victim of racial stereotyping and illegally stopped because his race and Dade license tag fit a profile used to stop drug suspects. The misdemeanor counts carry maximum sentences of a year in jail.
Neighbors on the Upper West Side of Manhattan are outraged tonight over the verdict in the trial of a handicapped man found guilty in the shooting death of a neighborhood bully. Jesus Velasquez has been sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison for an act that he calls self-defense. Julian Phillips reports.
Jesus Goito Velasquez did not get the max 12 to 25, but Judge Carol Berkman handed down a stiff sentence of 5 to 10 years, recommending time served in a state prison hospital for the double amputee diabetic.
The reasons that he has in his own mind for committing this offense merited and justified those kinds of things being taken into account a little bit more than the judge did.
Earlier, Velasquez plea bargained to a manslaughter 1 charge for the murder of 30-year-old Marcelo Heavy Gonzalez. Back in September of 1996, Velasquez pumped at least 3 bullets from a .32 caliber automatic pistol into the head and back of Gonzalez in front of the Kent Hotel where Velasquez lived on the 1st floor. Velasquez maintained it was in self-defense. The 300-pound Gonzalez was known to area residents as a drug-dealing, hustling bully who routinely shook down Velasquez and others for money. Neighbors who were outraged over the arrest reacted to the sentence.
That's not right. I get mad because Mr. Chuito, that's a very nice person.
5 to 10 is absolutely not.
At 68 years of age and in failing health, Velasquez's attorney believes 5 to 10 years in prison will be a life sentence. Judge Berkman said there was no satisfactory solution in this case. While Velasquez's attorney admits his client may get better care inside a prison hospital, he says there are other institutional settings more appropriate for his client. He suggests an appeal is not out of the question. Outside of Manhattan Criminal Court, I'm Julian Phillips for the WB11 News at 10.
Another sentencing today in the World Trade Center bombing case. Iyad Ismail, the man convicted of driving the bomb-laden van into the World Trade Center, was sentenced to 240 years in prison. The 26-year-old Ismail was convicted in November along with alleged mastermind Ramzi Youssef for the February 1993 bombing that killed 6 people and injured more than 1,000 others.
A fired CIA employee has been charged with spying and could face the death penalty. 50-year-old Douglas Grote is being held without bond tonight, accused of divulging secrets to 2 foreign countries so sensitive that our government won't identify them. Washington correspondent Gary Nuremberg reports.
A 16-year CIA veteran has been charged with giving intelligence secrets to 2 unnamed countries. 50-year-old Douglas Grote is accused of telling those countries the United States had cracked their intelligence codes, cryptography, and their methods of intelligence gathering.
During Grote's employment with the CIA, he participated in classified, covert operations aimed at the penetration of cryptographic systems of foreign governments. The alleged unauthorized disclosure of these activities could have a significant impact on the national security of the United States.
Grote is also accused of trying to bribe the CIA for more than $500,000. The indictment says Grote threatened to divulge other American intelligence secrets unless he was paid. The case follows the conviction of Aldrich Ames, whose spying led to the death of American operatives abroad. The Ames case caused the CIA to look harder for spies.
As a result of that, the agency has gotten leads on other potential individuals that may have put at risk some of our information. Apparently this is one individual that they have picked up as a result of the Ames case.
In other words, the new security precautions are showing results.
What we're seeing is the fact that the FBI is working better with the Central Intelligence Agency, and we're coming to grips with a better counterintelligence capability.
Grote is being held without bond pending a hearing next week. The government has not yet decided whether to ask for the death penalty. In Washington, Gary Nuremberg for the WB11 News at 10.
In the wake of the recent dismissal of Paula Jones' lawsuit against President Clinton, Monica Lewinsky's lawyer today said enough is enough. Attorney William Ginsburg made a public appeal to Special Prosecutor Kenneth Starr to end his investigation of the president, indicating he should consider the will of the country along with the facts and the law.
How about the will of the American people, Mr. Starr? Have you no shame, sir? How about the will of the American people? Don't give me law and don't give me facts. How about justice and the will of the American people?
Starr has already said that the Paula Jones matter will not affect his investigation. The Paula Jones case and the possibility of an appeal are the topics on tomorrow morning's News Close-Up.
Coming up as we continue tonight, a New Jersey woman says she may have to quit her job and go back on welfare because her health benefits won't cover the care of her sick son.
Is it better to put your kids in daycare or leave them with a nanny? The answer may surprise you.
Plus, a pair of police officers on Long Island help make a special delivery.
Hi. This portion of the news brought to you by the letter K for Kmart.
We have a story tonight, another case of a family falling through the cracks of the healthcare system.
Taking care of a disabled child is proving costly to a New Jersey mother, and she says she's simply not getting the help she needs. Vanessa Tyler tells us more about her plight.
Help. Venice Ross feels like screaming help off a mountaintop. She's poring over multiplying medical bills, thousands of dollars racked up by her son's condition. 7-year-old Shamir is a quadriplegic, diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Constant care, constant costs. No one will pay, not Blue Cross, not Medicaid.
I don't understand how they can cut my son off of Medicaid. And he's a disabled child. You know, he can't walk, he can't do anything for himself.
When Ross became full-time at her job at New Jersey Transit, her congratulations, getting kicked off Medicaid. At 34 grand, the government says she was making too much. Too much by not much for a single mother raising 2 sons. Her insurance, Blue Cross, will only pay what the company calls medically necessary. That means no home health aid, no money for expensive diapers, no easy-to-digest food.
My son's doctors have wrote them letters stating that, it's necessary for my son to have this, and that. They just recently wrote a letter stating that if he don't get the things that he need, his condition will worsen.
This family is drowning in the bureaucracy of it all. They need a lifeline, and quick.
I pray to God and hope that it doesn't happen, that she has to put him in a home. My personal opinion that he's so close to her that I don't think that he will survive.
It makes one wonder what's wrong with the system. A mother hoping her load will be made lighter gets dumped with a ton of red tape. In Paterson, New Jersey, Vanessa Tyler for the WB11 News at 10.
To daycare or not to daycare, that's a dilemma that many parents must face at some point in their lives. But there's some encouraging news tonight. There's a new study out that suggests a really good daycare facility may actually offer benefits unavailable to children who are at home full-time. Rhonda Rowland reports.
These 2- and 3-year-olds spend their days in what's considered a high-quality child care center. That is, the caregivers actively play and talk with the children. A new government study shows as a result, these children may be better behaved than those cared for by a nanny or in small groups.
Children who were with groups of other children were more compliant, more agreeable, and were reported to have fewer behavior problems.
But children in lower quality child care, where researchers say there's minimal interaction, were less cooperative and more likely to throw tantrums. The study shows language development is also stronger in high quality centers. The study conducted by the National Institutes of Health has been following 1,300 children since 1991. Obviously, children in daycare spend a lot of time with other children. This study shows that's a good thing in terms of behavior. These children tend to be more cooperative with their caregivers. Regardless of how much time a child spends in daycare,
it all depends what's going on at home, I think.
And that's what the research shows. What children get at home is more important than child care in determining a child's social development at age 3.
The positive, warm, sensitive relationship between a mother and her child is very important in children's early social development.
Most families struggle with child care decisions. This new study shows that putting kids in the best possible child care should not hurt their development. But for many, it may not be available or affordable. Rhonda Rowland, Atlanta.
Well, there's a baby boom of sorts on Long Island, with police taking active roles in both happy events. In one incident, Nassau County Police were called to a Massapequa home where they found 34-year-old Michelle O'Brien about to give birth. She and her newborn are in good condition at the County Medical Center after she delivered her baby girl on her living room floor.
Delivered it on the rug. She was upset about the rug, but she's very happy that she has a baby daughter, and her name's Christina. And God bless her.
Just upset about the rug. I love that. And in a similar incident, police in Baldwin helped Stacy McCowland deliver her baby in her dining room. Mom and daughter are in stable condition at Mercy Hospital.
Save a few dollars on hospital bills that way.
Yeah, you do.
When the WB11 News at 10 continues tonight, it was 30 years ago this weekend that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Tonight, a look back at his legacy.
A New Jersey girl was beaten up at a friend's party. Now a decision that could affect any parent who leaves their underage kids alone.
And Michael Jackson has a newborn baby girl to go along with his 1-year-old boy. 2 children now for the King of Pop. Tomorrow is the 30th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. People are gathering tonight in Memphis, Tennessee to remember a man with a dream who had his life cut short by a bullet. But that bullet didn't kill King's vision. Keith Oppenheim reports.
I'm just really nervous standing here today, realizing the fact that he's been shot at this very place.
The crowds come to Memphis to glean some meaning from an extraordinary life that ended in untimely death. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped transform our nation by fighting racism and calling upon people of all backgrounds to solve their differences without resorting to violence.
He was so young, he was just 39, he was killed, so needlessly killed. It helped so many people, it helped America so much. And yet, that is the obligation to carry on. We could not let one bullet kill the dream. It killed the dreamer. It can't do any more than that.
But who was behind the firing of that bullet is unresolved. 30 years ago, James Earl Ray confessed to the shooting, but now his attorney argues it was government and organized crime who conspired to kill King, not Ray. The King family has supported Ray and is calling upon President Clinton to reopen the investigation. Some skeptics say the Kings are deluded, that Ray was a small-time operator, possibly working with his brothers.
Why would James Earl Ray sit in prison for 30 years if he could give state's evidence and be out, if he knew what had happened in this crime?
If what they're saying is true, if we're wrong, if this is all conspiracist talk, put us to the test. Let us get into a courtroom. Let us get before a commission. Let us put these people under oath, and let's have that evidence tested once and for all.
So commemoration and controversy merge, raising the question, what if the dream was achieved, and what if his assassination remains unknown? On the agenda this weekend, a service at the Mason Temple, the last place where Dr. King spoke publicly, a march through the streets of Memphis, and there will be a candlelight vigil right here at the Lorraine Motel on Saturday night. Keith Oppenheim, Memphis.
Detective Mark Furman is off the hook on possible criminal charges stemming from his taped interview with a screenwriter. During the O.J. Simpson trial, Furman had boasted of using brutal tactics against minorities and using the N-word while talking to screenwriter Laura Hart McKinney. The U.S. Justice Department says it will not prosecute Furman or other Los Angeles police officers because a 5-year statute of limitations expired. Furman later said he fabricated the accounts while collaborating with McKinney. Possible civil rights violations are still being explored. Well, for the first time, a mob associate has linked John Gotti Jr. to specific mob activities. Gambino crime family enforcer Willie Marshall was indicted along with Gotti Jr. on racketeering charges 2 months ago, and now he's cooperating with the feds. In sealed testimony, Marshall admits collecting Gambino crime family debts and transporting payoffs to Gotti Jr. and to others. Gotti Jr., who has never been charged with anything more than assault, now faces a possible racketeering indictment that could put him in prison for 20 years.
Violence erupted during the lunch rush at a Brooklyn eatery. Details are sketchy, but police in Borough Park say that 2 men apparently got into a fight over a chicken lunch at a restaurant at 13th Avenue and 52nd Street. Cops arrived to find an unnamed white male stabbed in the chest. He was rushed to Maimonides Hospital. He's in critical condition there tonight. Witnesses say the assailant ran away and that he too may have suffered stab wounds. Thousands of honeybees escaped from an overturned truck in Canyon County, Idaho yesterday. The bees were buzzing everywhere. No one's sure how many eventually got out, but the driver said there were $70,000 worth of bees on the truck. Each hive holds up to 50,000 bees. They were scheduled to be used to pollinate Idaho's fruit orchards. One firefighter was treated for an allergic reaction to a bee sting.
A legal decision is music to the ears of some New Jersey ice cream vendors. Officials in Stafford Township have put a temporary freeze on a new ordinance forbidding ice cream trucks from playing music as they make those rounds. They're reportedly looking for an alternative solution. Residents complain about the volume and the repetition of the music from the trucks, forcing officials to act. Truck drivers have taken their case to federal court, and they say they will be cranking the music and selling ice cream as early as this weekend. Well, this next story concerns a court decision that could affect anyone who is a parent. A New York State appeals court ruled that an underage girl who hosted a party where alcohol was served is liable for injuries caused by a drunken guest. Rosemary Gomez reports. Okay, we apologize. We don't have that story right now. We'll try to get it to you before the end of this newscast. We'll be back right after this. As we told you before the break, a New York State appeals court ruled that a teenage girl who served alcohol at a party that she gave is liable for injuries caused by one of the guests that got drunk. Rosemary Gomez reports now.
Came up broadside, hit me here, shattered my cheekbone, my nose.
Carol Russ remembers the attack as if it were yesterday. In 1989, she was punched in the face at a keg party at a friend's home in Merrick while her friend's parents were on vacation.
I got very lucky. The doctor said that the force of the impact, any further tilt of the head, it would have took, the bone and I would have died.
At first, 2 courts said Rust couldn't sue her former classmate, Heidi Ryer, then 17, because the teen hostess didn't personally serve the alcohol. But a state appeals court has reversed those dismissals, saying Rust had a right to sue her underage host.
If you're going to have a party at your house unsupervised and, minors drinking, that, a situation arises, something like that, you should be held accountable for.
Russ' lawyer says the ruling sets a new standard on what constitutes furnishing a drink. Although a fraternity provided the beer, Judge Judith Katz ruled Ryer was more than an unknowing bystander, saying that she, quote, allegedly gave permission for the alcohol at the party, provided storage for the kegs, and negotiated a share of the proceeds.
It says to anyone that if you participate in some type of endeavor where alcohol is being given out to underage individuals and that underage individual causes an injury to someone, you are responsible for that injury.
The ruling paves the way for Russ to sue her former friend for $5 million in damages, and that has many parents thinking twice about the possible high costs of having underage drinkers in their homes.
I'm going to tell my kid, when I'm not home, don't have any kids in this house, period.
This father thinks the ruling's unfair to parents who can ultimately be held responsible under their homeowner's insurance. Lawyers for Ryer didn't return our call. Meanwhile, Russ said it was hard to sue her high school friend, but hopes the ruling sends a message so other teens don't get hurt. On Long Island, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the WB11 News at 10.
An ex-girlfriend of Princess Diana's former lover has been arrested for trying to sell Diana's handwritten love letters to a tabloid. London's Mirror newspaper reported that Anna Ferret, James Hewitt's former fiancée, tried to sell more than 60 of Diana's letters to the tabloid for $250,000. Hewitt was Prince William's former writing instructor. He had reportedly promised Diana that he would burn the letters, but he apparently held on to them anyway. The paper said it turned the letters over to Kensington Palace and promised never to publish or to reproduce them. And the king of pop has become a pop again. A source says Michael Jackson's wife, Debbie Rowe Jackson, gave birth today to their second child, a girl, at a Beverly Hills hospital. Paris Michael Catherine Jackson was born at 6:30 this morning Pacific time, weighed in at 7 pounds 9 ounces. Mrs. Jackson said the name Paris comes from the city in France where the baby was conceived. The Jacksons' first child, Prince, turned 1-year-old in February.
Titanic mania just keeps on going. The success of the blockbuster movie has generated new interest in all things Titanic, including a California exhibit aboard the Queen Mary displaying actual artifacts from the ship. Willa Sandmeyer from our sister station KTLA took a look.
A tureen used in the Titanic's first-class dining room, a wash basin from a second-class cabin, a huge whistle that once was mounted on one of the Titanic's funnels, a passenger's letter written but never delivered. These are some of the 38 artifacts retrieved from the wreckage of the Titanic, now on display on another transatlantic ocean liner, the Queen Mary in Long Beach. The phenomenal success of the movie Titanic has renewed public interest in ships like this one, the Queen Mary. In fact, the Queen Mary is the last of the old-time luxury transatlantic ocean liners. This ship built in 1934. Since Titanic opened in December, the number of visitors here to the Queen Mary and to an accompanying Titanic exhibit has increased 200%.
People want to come down and be aboard a ship, see what it's like to walk on decks and look out over the rails and, I suppose, relive images from the film.
The Queen Mary now sees 11,000 visitors each week, up to 3,000 a day on weekends. This simple exhibit shows what happens to a styrofoam cup when it's taken down to a depth of 2.5 miles in the ocean where the Titanic now rests. The pressure of 6,000 pounds per square inch crushed these cups into miniature. Several visitors say the movie Titanic sparked their interest in this exhibit.
We saw the movie a few weeks ago and decided to, as we were coming here to visit, that we would want to see this.
It's really cool because it tells a lot about the Titanic.
This exhibit has been so popular, it's being held over for yet another month, 3 months past its original scheduled closing date. In Long Beach, Willa Sandmeyer for the WB11 News at 10.
And it just could be the Titanic will be knocked off its box office perch this weekend as two potential blockbusters take aim at that mega hit movie. Bruce Willis debuts as an FBI agent, and the Robinson family is once again lost in space, and they'll provide some competition at a big weekend at the movies. Anna Hovind takes a look.
The ozone layer is down to 40%.
This is Jupiter 1. The Robinsons are all tucked in. We are ready to fly.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
In 2 decades, the Earth will be unable to support human life.
The Robinson family is once again about to be lost in space.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger!
The Robinsons are sent into space to find a new world. But a stowaway, Dr. Smith, sabotages their mission.
The time has come to awake.
Robot is online. 16 hours into mission. Destroy, destroy, destroy.
Worrying the children! What was the price tag you put on our future?
We show you in the sun's gravitational pull.
The hyperdrive. It could be thrown anywhere in the galaxy.
Anywhere but here.
Initiate.
We're lost.
Lost in Space is rated PG-13.
You're telling me a 9-year-old kid cracked the government super code? Simon, what does that say?
Look, it doesn't matter. He can read it. That's why his life is in danger.
In Mercury Rising, a 9-year-old autistic boy's parents have been killed. Now his life is in danger. It's up to FBI agent Bruce Willis to protect the boy.
I'm your friend. See? Art is your friend. Give him up. Take him back. Would you give your own kid up? It's not your kid. Well, right now, he's nobody's kid. By this evening, this entire situation will be contained.
Mercury Rising is rated R. I'm Anna Hogan.
Well, that looks like a good movie. Straight ahead, Mr. G is back with a look ahead of the weekend forecast. Something to do this weekend.
That's right. One lucky pup in Louisiana after a dramatic rescue.
And the Parks Commissioner made him kiss a tree for his bicycle infraction, but the mayor says this is not enough.
No, come on. A lucky Chihuahua is enjoying a well-deserved siesta after a harrowing ordeal. Harrowing. A Louisiana state trooper spotted the dog shivering in an alligator-infested swamp yesterday. He summoned rescuers. They spent 2 hours trying to pull the dog from the wetlands under an elevated stretch of highway. They finally got him out with the help of a chain ladder and some cat food. He was hungry. Tonight he's in an animal shelter. Authorities think that dog had been abandoned in that swamp for almost a week. Could have got a little bigger cage. I mean, it's a,
well, it's a small dog.
Squeezing in there.
Small cage. It's the weekend. I don't know about you, but I'm very, very happy. And it's going to be glorious,
Got
right?
that body
It's
language
nice.
going. You're moving around.
Yeah, it's
outdoor,
be...
doing a little shopping, going outside. I just, you know, when not much is going on, we get into the personal lives. But it's going to be a nice weekend for the next 24 to 48 hours. A little bit of a wind in and around the tri-state area, and we're going to do the numbers. But first, I want to look at the snow amounts. This was April the 3rd, 1915, in New York City. 10 inches of snow, Scarsdale 14 inches, and in Philadelphia 19 inches of snow. Where were you on that date in 1915? All right, first the big story, temperatures, okay, very, very nice, 52 humidity, 57% northeast state, 60-47 high and low. For this time of year, the normal should be 55 degrees. This is a storm shooting across the Ohio Valley. That's one. And you see the dry air punching down from the north and west, and it's going to suppress this storm as it heads out to the middle Atlantic states. That's good news. You can see on the satellite, here's the spin right there. And once again, on the satellite, this is a storm system that looks impressive, but once again, the track of the storm will be off the middle Atlantic states, the dry air flowing from the Great Lakes to New York City. That will keep the storm underneath us. So a cool shot follows. Storm goes out. Tomorrow, the northerlies will blow 12, 22 miles per hour. And again, it will be dry. And again, it will be sunny in the afternoon. Temperatures tomorrow between 50 55 degrees and cool again for Sunday, shaping up for a very nice weekend. The beat goes on Monday as well with temperatures right around 60 degrees. Golfers, this is Jack's game. Man hits it well. 50 to 55, sun and clouds. He made me say that. Again, with a light breeze, 50 to 55 degrees. It's really perfect outdoor. Bladers, bikers, strollers, golfers, runners. Go to it. It's going to be very nice. Partly cloudy skies. That's the deal. 42 to 47. North and west 35 to 40. And for the joggers, as we begin training kitey for the marathon this year. Right. Much of chance of that. Good English. Or intervals of clouds and some breezy and cool. Temperatures between 50 and 55 degrees. You know what? It's going to be a nice weekend. Saturday and Sunday look-alikes, and Monday we keep it nice and we keep it sunny. So, how do you feel on Saturday? I think you should go outdoors. Temperatures, once again, will be right around 52 degrees. What are you doing on Sunday? In a partly sunny skies. Let's go Knicks. Got a roof for the Knicks. 53 degrees. Monday in a partly sunny skies. Temperatures, once again, will be in the mid-50s. Tuesday, a ton of sun. Next shot of showers around here. Shot of showers will be on Wednesday. And the latest information on my website. You can check it out on WB11.com.
Right. Knicks Nets this weekend.
Yeah,
right?
big.
Should be a good game.
I'll be there.
That takes us right to the sports.
I was trying to figure out what happened in 1915.
talking
That
about.
was 3 years after the Titanic sailed.
83 years ago.
Yes.
You were 12.
A Friday night filled with action highlights, not here, but elsewhere. Mets and Pirates at Shea. What's wrong with the Bronx Bombers, and previewing the Knicks and the Nets showdown.
Hi, I'm Jeff Van Gundy. I'm the head coach of the New York Knicks, and Sal's Sports is next if you keep it right where it is.
This portion of the news brought to you by De Beers. A diamond is forever.
Our first Friday night of baseball in Shea Stadium was humming because the Mets and Pirates were entangled in a squeaker. In the ninth, tied at 1, Doug Strange laced a ball into the left field corner. Jose Guillen trying to score from first base. Bernard Gilkey in the corner with the peg to Ray Ordonez. The perfect relay to Spear at the plate. A collision, and Spear held on to the ball. A bang-bang play, keeping it 1-1. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. Carlos Baegra at third. Ordonez, the bouncer. Kevin Pokovich's throw off the bag. Ray ducked. Baegra scored. Mets won 2-1. McMichael, the winner, in relief. Yankees and A's in a rain delay in Oakland. Mendoza and Hayes. The Yanks looking for their first win after losing their first 2 games against the Angels. Last night, David Wells tried to sneak an 0-2 fastball past Dave Hollins. You're looking at a 400-foot shot. Wells gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. Darryl Strawberry didn't help matters in the 7th. A drive by Gary DiSarcina bounced off his glove for a triple, leading to a pair of runs. The Yanks lost 10-2. In their first 2 defeats, they've scored only 3 runs. Recently, Cubs announcer Harry Carey passed away after 50 years in the booth. He remains a beloved character in Chicago. Today, his widow, Dutchie, led nearly 40,000 Cubs fans in Harry's trademark 7th inning serenade. Hall of Famer. With 8 games left, the Knicks need 3 wins to make the playoffs. They're 3 games ahead of the Nets in the loss column. Both teams collide at the Meadowhands tomorrow night. Sean Kimmerling has more.
The calendar may say April, but it sure felt a lot like Christmas at the Garden last night. Patrick Ewing actually catching and shooting for all to see. There's even talk of a mid-April return, but don't ask Jeff Van Gundy.
I'm really not a big part of this decision. It's really the doctors and Patrick. So, you know, I don't get daily updates as far as like where his strength levels are, where they need to be. If he's healthy, great.
Tomorrow, Patrick will watch another game with the Nets from the sidelines. It's become an honest-to-goodness rivalry, and you can bet on more playoff-type atmosphere Saturday in the Meadowlands.
Whenever you're playing your cross-river rivalry, then it's going to be a lot of fire and a lot of emotions out there. So tomorrow won't be any different. You know, we have to come out with a lot of energy against a young team.
Well, I think it'll be physical, and it will be a very competitive game. It always has been. I mean, even in the years I haven't been here, they've always been very competitive. So I imagine it'd be pretty much the same.
The Nets are coming off a shellacking at the hands of the Lakers, in which Shaquille O'Neal scored 50 points. But the Knicks refused to take the Nets lightly.
They have the luxury of having an all-star from last year's all-star team come off the bench in Gatling. Cycley's a proven center, a very good one. Van Horn's very good. I mean, they're different, but I don't think they're any less dangerous.
A win tomorrow night over the Nets would just about lock up the number 7 seed in the playoffs for the Knicks, and that might mean a first-round showdown with the team that sent the Knicks packing last year, the Miami Heat. With the Knicks, Sean Kimmerling for the WB11 News at 10.
Thanks, Sean. While the Knicks and Nets were off, sixth place Cleveland lost at home to the Lakers. So the Cavs are one game ahead of the Knicks in the loss column. Shaquille O'Neal popped for 19 points in the first half. Cleveland behind by 5 points at the break. And the Lakers extended to 19 in the second half. Eddie Jones with the 3. Lakers won 105-93. Shaq with 26 after scoring 50 last night against the Nets. Devils with a burnout in the third period against Ottawa, and New Jersey has a 3-game losing streak for the first time in 2 years. Senators climbed back from a 2-0 deficit. 6 minutes into the third, Jordan McKeegan put it past Martin Brodeur, 2-2 tie. Minute and a half later, Ottawa's Denny Lambert in the slot for a 3-2 lead, and that was the final. P.S. Senators goalie Damian Rhodes made 16 of his 34 saves in the third period, keeping the Devils off the board. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too, Sal. Thanks. Finally tonight, hugging a tree may do the trick for Parks Commissioner Henry Stern, but Mayor Giuliani says a hug is just a hug. Daniel Mappelli was fined for having one of his delivery bikes chained to the tree outside his deli. Stern offered Mappelli the tree hugging as a way out of paying a $1,000 fine for what he called attempted arbicide. But his honor says a hug simply isn't enough, that a judge should be the one to decide if the fine will be rescinded. We'll keep you updated.
Mayor's got a great sense of humor, doesn't he?
That's Channel 11 News for this Friday night. I'm Katie Tong.
I'm Jack Cafferty. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again on Monday. Join Howard and Mary tomorrow night for the news at 10. Seinfeld is next. Have a nice weekend. Good night.
Closed captioning is brought to you as a public service by your local Tri-State Dodge dealers.